Okay, so like I said, I don't want to just cancel a Friday Zoom. Canceling a Tuesday Zoom is one thing, but I don't want to cancel a live Zoom just because this is like the time that you guys get to talk to me, so I don't want to really interrupt that. But I don't have a lot of time today. I am going to get through the lecture and then have any questions for you guys, but then that'll be it. So yeah, just going to get started from our swing bias from last week. Last week swing bias. Let me move this. Okay, yeah. So last week our our swing bias last week was that we were still anticipating a continuation to the upside, and that we did not really have any reason to justify why we could be going in the opposite direction. So I'm going to delete that because as of now, right, based on where we started this week, which is right here, we can see that our weekly is really looking like it wants to start something a bit suspicious. And by suspicious, I mean we could start seeing some sort of decline. But I can't really assume anything out of the ordinary. Why? Because if we start to break this down, especially from a minor intraday, we know right from a minor intraday that we have met liquidity and we have a liquidity grab, and this is not only an internal liquidity grab from a minor intraday, but from a major intraday, this is a continuation BOS as well as from a swing. So we now understand that within this structural range, we have now confirmed via the internal liquidity grab. So what is to happen after that? Well, something that really is pointing out or really just seems a bit interesting from a daily time frame is this daily inefficiency. Why? Because this daily inefficiency was what caused potentially a retap of structure there, maybe, or just anything in here. You could see that there is a push down and then a big push up. So there is something here. So as we start to zoom in, just based on that, we can see that there is a type of turbulence point within, right, the shaded region. The shaded region has now confirmed a reaction, and I'm confirming that reaction because the minor intraday has been broken as a continuation BOS. So yes, technically, internally from the internal pullback, we are still bearish, but it is important to note as well that the swing is bullish, and then we have a turbulence point with a daily POI that has now given us an internal reaction. So what is to happen here? Two things. One, we are to see a reaction here during New York, or there is a confirmed reaction here, and this will be high, low, retracement, continuation. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens here within the next probably like 3 hours. We should be able to see that within the next 3 hours. And that will really confirm whether or not this is going to start to transition into a bullish sense, or if we are to start convert or continue this, continuation based on the internal minor intraday liquidity grab that we just mentioned. But for me, I would like to see this be taken out. Why? Because not only if we are to break this after this move, then we know for sure that there is internal order flow disruption for one, and that is mitigating here. Not to mention this is a preliminary range. So even if we are to react here, it's realistic to see a transition to the upside. So with that being said, as of now, like I said, we cannot necessarily assume our conversion into the upside unless we are to get a reaction within the shaded region. So pretty much two things to look out for. One, if we're going to convert, or if we are going to continue based on the continuation POI, or if we are to convert with the counter POI. And with that, we have EURUSD. This is another one. It's literally the same scenario where we know that we are bearish from pretty much every sense, and we have our daily POI popping out right now. Okay, so as of now, like we said with DXY, we know that the internal is bullish, right? As you can see from the wick reaction here, we are bullish as of right now. So we are to wait for some sort of conversion within here if we are to assume any type of bearish movement, right? Because as we can see right now, turn it down. If we are to, let's say, react from M5 POI, right? The only way that this would confirm a reaction is if we take out, right, the internal or the scalp range. So as of right now, it could go both ways. I would really like to see this essentially convert from a bullish to bearish sense, because you guys know that realistically the highest risk reward comes from a bearish transition on a bullish pullback of a bearish trend, and vice versa. And that could be what we are seeing right now, where we do see the solidification of the high based on the intraday or the minor intraday. Sorry about that. About the minor intraday break of structure. That break of structure, although it is being bounced right now, whatever happens in this relative region is really going to dictate whether or not we continue lower, which is kind of what I'm preferring. Whereas if we break through the POI that we had just mentioned and we don't see any type of transition, then right, we could be looking at a structural disruption, and this is the beginning of, you know, a serious pullback, not necessarily just from the internal swing, but potentially even more than that, because we have been bearish for a very long time. But I don't want to assume that just yet. Why? Because like I said, we have been bearish for pretty much the entire year, a year and a half almost. So I don't necessarily see why we are not going to convert back to a bearish bias. But yeah, just something to keep watch on right here. Right, and then there is that as well. So as of right now in session, I would really like to see that, but we will only know if, right, we have some sort of transition here, and that could occur based on the POI present there. AU, this one I believe hasn't moved much this week. No, it has not moved much this week. This is still bearish. EU kind of bullish. This one, like I said, is a bit suspect. But this one is pretty much clear that we will continue downward. Right, we know, right, we understand what a continuation BOS is. Our continuation BOS solidifies our range, and that the range has been solidified where it could arguably be here or here, but it doesn't really matter because that continuation BOS has now been invalidated, and we now have a continuation BOS now in the opposite direction, signifying that we cannot assume anything right now other than we cannot assume anything other than a continuation to the downside. But the only thing that I see could potentially cause this to change is that we are seeing, right, H1 POI here, whereas here we could be running on liquidity. We could get a very strong upside move here, a strong momentum move here based on the POI, plus you're adding liquidity. It could signify that this continuation BOS is still valid. So right, as of now, this is still bearish internally, but if we are to get a reaction from the POI, then we could also have supporting momentum, and this could signify some sort of upside move, or at least to see some sort of retracement, right, so that then we can continue lower. So right now, right, I don't necessarily want to short this per se, only because I don't like seeing a minor major intraday continuation BOS plus a POI plus low momentum to the downside. All right, so I don't necessarily want to short this, even though just from a rules perspective we are still bearish. I really do want to see, right, if this POI can give us something which could give, you know, a really high potential toward the upside. And we're talking 100, 200 pips ish. Yeah, 100, 200 pips ish. Something I do want to do today is I want to add two things. I want to add gold, and I want to add Dow Jones. Just some extra stuff for you guys. Let's see, gold. Pretty much doing the same thing that we're doing with EU and AU. Right, this is interesting. The reason why I'm kind of wanting to point this out is because we have seen, you know, pretty much gold decline for the past, what, 6 months. We could anticipate, right, some sort of bounce within the next 2 to 3 months. And this type of bounce, right, like we said before, where we want to catch a transition of a pullback based on the previous trend. Here, this would be a bullish transition on a bearish pullback of a bullish trend. So realistically, if we are to get that, then we're looking at an expansive move of relative length there. And if that is to happen, you know, this is where you start scaling into kind of long-term positions, not necessarily margin trading, but you could even look into gold itself. Took nice buys on gold. Nice. Let's actually dive deeper. I haven't looked at this. It's my first time looking at this in a couple of weeks. But it is interesting to see what we are getting right now, because I do see this as well, right, which is the mitigation of the inefficiency there, and that could also lead to, you know, a move to the upside. Let me see. Yeah, this is looking like it's already wanting to start the bullish transition. Where did you buy? What did you buy exactly? Okay, yeah, I'll just wait for you to send the charts. But as of now, right, this weekly POI is signaling a continuation BOS. That continuation BOS has now continued higher. So it doesn't seem like this would be a sustainable POI towards the downside. I am now seeing this more as we could see this start to pop off. Let's see what he posted. Yeah, that would be the weekly POI. Yep. Okay. But if we are to break here, then we are full on bullish. And it looks like I might be a little bit late to the party with this one, but it looks like this one already wants to make its move. Okay. Inefficiency based on structure. That would be this. That would be that. Yeah, you can talk. Go ahead.
Basically, I just saw the tap, and then I entered on the lower time frames. So I saw this push to the upside, and then I kind of anticipated a retracement, and then I just went off that.
Having kid troubles, man.
Yeah, that's my little sister.
No, it's all, you're good, man. Do you have a screenshot of where you entered?
Yeah, to be honest, I took a risky entry on the bottom, and then I took a more conservative entry on top.
Yeah, I'll just wait for you to send that. But I do think this is extremely appealing in terms of if we're talking swing moves here, because best case scenario is we still see, right, a pullback here, which would then solidify high into low, and then we see a liquidity grab. That would be realistically what I would like to see, just because technically, even if we are to break the bearish invalidation from a minor intraday, this major intraday slash swing range is still in play, and that would essentially mean that we are still bearish. But yeah, that would obviously take a bit of time, so I guess we'll have to see what happens after this week, because it is looking like, just like DXY and EU, it looks like this is a very strong reaction. Yeah, this is something I'm definitely gonna keep my eyes on over the next couple of weeks. This one, I hope this one just melts. I don't know if you guys remember, or I don't know if you guys saw this. I posted this, semi-consistent, where I found it interesting that every time we saw a market correction, it was essentially a liquidity grab, and this one was 85% drop. This was a 50% drop, but either way, we still went to take out, right, a very significant swing high before we started accumulating back up. And then this right here again, 57%, you take out a big swing point. Whereas now we could potentially maybe see the same thing, and it is 50% as well. So if this is, you know, to follow that type of pattern, realistically we'd be looking at, you know, taking out this liquidity here. And if that is to happen, then, right, we can anticipate, you know, shorting up until then. And the reason why this is appealing even now today is because if we zoom in, we already have our failed reaction. We have a structural disruption based on a swing time frame. So because this has occurred, I can only assume that we're going to, where is this? That we're going to, right, essentially melt. We've already seen the failed attempt at making new highs. That has been taken out, right? We do see our final push here before we finally push down from a minor intraday stance. So if we are to get any type of recovery into there, that is a very, very good position to, you know, look for longer term shorts. And I don't see why this should not make that, especially with the structural disruption confirmation. But yeah, not much on this one. I just really want to see if this is going to melt over the next couple of months like we're anticipating. And if it does, then, you know, this would essentially be the recession, not a collapse, but the essential recession pullback. Because if that is to happen how we say it's going to happen, then that breaking this would only solidify low, high, retracement, and then that's how you get these longer term positions. And if we are to get that, then that's a payday. But other than that, I'm probably gonna stick to 4 pairs now for you guys. I don't know if you guys have any questions, anybody that's on the call right now. If not, we can probably wrap this up soon. Sid is in here, Tamiya's in here. Does anybody have any questions, anything they want to cover today? Quick question on gold, yes. Why would you wait for the blue line to break? Let me see. Yeah, so this is kind of personal preference, only because they're both solidified highs. So realistically, if we are to take this high, then we'll more than likely take this high as well. But they are both valid. What platform would you use? Well, it depends. What do you mean? What are you looking for? If you're looking to buy gold long term, buy actual gold. Yep, the blue line is disruption, yes. Yeah. I mean, if you wanted to margin trade it, that's fine too. It just depends on the broker that you're using to see what kind of commissions you're going to get, what kind of swap you're going to get over that much time. You gave a similar reaction as gold. I mean, I would hope so. If the pound did break 1985 lows. Let me see. Yeah, I see that. I see that. Yeah, I see that for sure. Right here. Okay, does that answer your question, Sid, or is there any other issue? Cool. Does anybody have any final questions? Because I don't have much time today. Oh yeah, also, I am moving all of my stuff to Notion. Actually, let me see. I'm in the process right now of moving everything over. All of my I have to refind all of my original notes. And by that I mean for the YouTube course, I'm looking for those notes right now, and I'm gonna put everything on here. Just trying to be pretty organized with this. Trading, concepts, models, backtesting, live analysis, RCV. This would be, I would also need to put my business stuff on here, RCV, Instagram, YouTube content. But yeah, I thought this was pretty cool. Once I'm done with this, I'll probably show you guys again, and maybe you guys can take my template. But I'm not even 50% done, so I'll come back to that. But does anybody else have any more questions? Any more questions? You got like 1 minute. Alrighty, I guess that will conclude today's call then. Yeah, seems no more questions.